This video is an introduction to the Criminal Finalisations Dashboard. The aim of this dashboard is to identify potential demands for legal assistance in criminal court settings and can therefore be used to inform service planning. It presents criminal courts data sourced from the New South Wales Bureau of Crime Statistics and Research, also known as BOCSAR, and uses counts of finalisations as a proxy indicator to estimate legal needs. Now, this is of course one aspect of legal needs only, as it focuses on the need of people appearing in court for criminal matters. The development of this dashboard stems from previous work done by the Foundation in 2018 upon request from the Aboriginal Legal Service to analyse and map data to inform their planning. And I will take the opportunity to acknowledge and thank the ALS for their involvement in the background work that led to this dashboard and for their ongoing support. We also thank BOCSAR, of course, for supplying the data, as well as the Department of Communities and Justice for providing additional information. The dashboard interface comprises three main elements. The map presents the distribution of criminal finalisations by 146 court locations across New South Wales. Each dot or circle on the map represents a court location. The size of the circle increases with the number of finalisations. The chart shows trends over the last few years, and the table below provides a detailed view of the data with actual counts. Note also the summary section in the bottom right corner that shows aggregated totals for the selected data. A series of filters at the top of the screen allow the user to select specific data and break it down by variables of interest. The map, chart, and table update automatically based on your selection. Data is currently available for the period 2012 to 2019. You can choose to look at data by financial year or by calendar year, and you can select either a single year or the whole period. Let's choose 2015-16. The map updates, and numbers on the map now relate to the 2015-16 financial year only. Note that the chart and the table keep on displaying the values over the whole period, even if you select a single year. If you select a calendar year, say 2019, both the chart axis and table header update to show data by calendar year. You can also filter data by level of court to see number of finalisations that occurred in the local court, the higher courts, or the children's court. We can see at a glance that the chart shows a very different trend for the children's court, with decrease in finalisations, compared with that of the local court, showing an increase in finalisations over the same period. You can also break it down by the defendant's Indigenous status and choose to see data for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander defendants only, for non-Indigenous defendants, or finalisations where the defendant's Indigenous status was not known. Now bear in mind that this dashboard follows from research that was done for the Aboriginal Legal Service. That explains the variables available here. Okay, so here we are looking at all finalisations that occurred in 2019 in the local court for all defendants and including all court locations in New South Wales, which is a total of over 125,000 finalisations. Now let's see how you can select areas of interest to get insights at a local level, either using the map or by name. You can zoom and click on the map to select a few locations. Hold down the Control key to add more locations to your selection. The chart, table, and the summary update to reflect your selection. Hold down the Control key and click on some selected locations again to remove them from the selection. Click away from the dots or any area on the C to clear the selection altogether. You can also switch from the Pan tool to any of the selecting tools from the map. This allows selecting all court locations within an area, like so. Make sure to switch back to the Pan tool so you can move the map without losing your selection. Another way to select a few locations is from the list of names below the map. Simply tick or untick the boxes as needed. Let's pick a few locations on the North Coast, for example. One more. And click on the Apply button to apply the filter. You can also search by name. Click on the magnifying glass and type in the name. Let's add a couple of locations and hit Apply again. Specific groups of court locations have already been preset in the dashboard. They are referred to as clusters. Use the drop-down list to visualize the clusters. For example, let's choose circuits. Courts are grouped into circuits as defined by the Chief Magistrate's Office and assigned different colors on the map. You can select one or several clusters in the same way we did for individual court locations. The table lists court locations by cluster. The Albury Circuit comprises of these 5 court locations. And if you wish to aggregate data by cluster, simply click the Cluster button, and the table displays total for each cluster. Display data by court again, and the table expands to show numbers for each location within the clusters. A cluster is simply a grouping of court locations in a way that is relevant for stakeholders. It may be based on geographic boundaries or other service structure. It is possible to customize this list of clusters and add any grouping that may be more useful to your need. Please contact the Foundation for more details. For example, court locations can be grouped based on catchment areas where legal assistance providers operate. This was done for the ALS to reflect service structure as it was in January 2019. Let's look at data by ALS offices. The number of finalizations shown here do not necessarily represent cases that were managed by the ALS. They are cases that were finalized at court locations that were serviced by specific ALS offices at the time in 2019. For example, if you select, say, Lismore, we see that the ALS office in Lismore was servicing 7 court locations at the time. Again, keep in mind that the clustering can change over time. Now, if we filter by Indigenous status, we find that there were just over 1,100 finalizations with Aboriginal defendants in 2019 at those 7 court locations. It is of course likely that the ALS represented some of those defendants, but perhaps not all. Again, this is not service data, but using courts data as a proxy indicator for potential demand for services. Throughout this video, I have been talking about numbers of finalizations. Now there is also another metric available called an index. The index is available from the top drop-down list. The index is a simple calculation based on the number of charges at finalization. For example, a finalization with a single charge is given a count of 1, whereas a finalization with 5 charges or more would be assigned a count of 5. In other words, the index counts the number of finalized charges rather than just the number of finalizations. It gives more weight to the more complex cases. Using the index, the dashboard looks at a total of over 2 million finalized charges over 8 years. Depending on your context or purpose for using this dashboard, the index may provide a more refined indicator of potential demand for services. And this concludes our video on the Criminal Finalisations Dashboard. Make sure to sign up to the Foundation's research alerts to hear more about upcoming resources for the legal assistance sector.